G'day, this is Simon at South OC Cars and Coffee. I'm with Eric, who his company reached out to us earlier in the week to say we're going to bring this thing to the show. Absolutely amazing. What is it, mate?
It's a 1966 Chevy C20.
Yeah, this thing is just, well, over the top. Check it out. Now, I've seen a lot of C10s and C20s in my time, and I don't think I've seen any that have that hanging through the hood. That is kind of cool. That is a Whipple 3.8 litre Gen 5 supercharger with a custom Y snout on it. We're going to come to that in a minute, but mate, this build is insane. Talk to me about what inspired doing a C20, and in particular the motor and combo that you've got under there.
Well, it started life for us as a running, driving 66 farm truck, and Gail saw it, our brand manager owned it at the time, and he says, let's put a DURAMAX in that. And long story short, 2.5 years later and a lot of man hours, we ended up with this gem, and it's really a labor of love.
There's so many little details about this thing that I really love, because you know, the fasteners, the machine work, just the amount of laser cutting and water jetting and stuff that's going on. But when we get under the hood, seeing what's under there. But even in the interior, as we look in here, what's kind of cool, we have the handle on the line lock. And you were saying earlier, it's not to drift, it's to...
Right, so people, usually you see those on drift cars to lock up the rear, but for us, no, that's line lock, so it's the burnout lever. So line lock, burnouts, yep. We've got the paddle shifter on there as well. Yeah, so ATS 6-speed Allison, and then it's got a PCS override, so we can select the gear we want. Yeah, which is, I mean, just the machine looks good. Let's talk about the instrumentation as well. That's one of the cool things that you've done. They are your gauges, is that correct? So those are our off-the-shelf iDash data monsters, and so we've got that tied into our Motec ECM. And so any parameter that this engine's got, we've got a sensor for it, and that data is feeding back to our iDash, and we can data log it for development work.
Oh, that's excellent. So you've got the best of both worlds. You've got something which kind of fits into that original dash panel, but gives you all the information, all the data you need. Anything you need to tune it, fix it, whatever, you know what's going on underneath there.
100%.
Which is cool. And controls in the middle, is your air ride and everything else in this middle panel as well?
So we got all of our Motec switches on the upper portion, lower is RadTech for airbag control.
Yeah, that's excellent.
And then of course cup holders, because we do drive it.
Yeah, well, as you should. I mean, the thing is great. What I love about it is, I mean, I love the painting, the patina and everything, and all the original rust, but have a look at the size of the exhaust on this thing. You know, just coming around, the angles, the floor's lifted obviously, so this thing can be like dumped right down in the weeds. The machining on all of these things is just the little details. What I love about it, if I pulled up next to you, you may not do a double take. Well, of course, until you saw the wheels, exhaust, and the blower and everything. Speaking of the wheels, let's talk about these. They are really special. I've never seen anything like them. Who made those, and what's the story behind them?
So that's Jonathan Spark out of Spark Industries. We wanted to do something functional, and so him and Gail got to talking, and they ultimately came up with this fin design. And so those are directional, purposeful, and that's to draw the hot air out. And started out life as 500-pound blocks of billet, machined down to just these works of art that we clear coated immediately, because man, they're beautiful.
Yeah, and just to clarify, the directional means if we go around the other side, the fins are actually going to be pointing in the same direction, because obviously if you put this wheel on the other side, it wouldn't be drawing air, it'd actually be forcing air in, because it would be going in the opposite direction.
Right, so one wheel for each corner.
Yeah, that's cool. And the other thing I liked about it is the badge looks like it belongs there. Yeah. It looks like it should have been on an old Chevy or an old GMC or something. What's the story behind that?
So exactly what we did. We took off the old C20 badge, kept the same design, and we did a Banks R866SC. So that's a race 8-cylinder, 6.6 liter supercharged.
Oh, that's insane. So as we look around this thing, this beautiful blower sitting through the hood, we're going to look at that in a moment. Did I hear somebody say it's around 1,200 horsepower? Or is that guesstimation?
That's based on the tire size and the nitrous we can put into this thing. If we were to put it to the ground, we'd be somewhere in that range.
Oh, that's insane. I love the other thing here. We're going to see in a minute there's intakes coming from these Y pipes, but pretty obviously they're picking up air right at the front, so it's missing a headlight, and it's got an air pickup there, which is super cool. All right, enough of looking around the outside. Let's look at the magic. Let's not just open the hood, let's clamshell the front and back of this thing and see what's going on, the magic part of this truck.
Let's do it.
Starting here, great view by the way, we pull in and we can see this amazing supercharger under the hood here. Now what I'm going to do is come up over the top, and we'll come around here and start talking about this, because there's so much cool stuff going on over here. Like, I said earlier when I was walking past doing a video tour, a lot of people aren't used to seeing this style of top mount supercharger on a diesel, right?
Yeah, and so a big element for us is we were trying to put as many DURAMAX diesel, whatever we could to say, hey, this is a diesel, and people still are confused by it. It's not something you typically see.
No, and I didn't even realize till I saw this you can even run nitrous oxide on a diesel.
It works the same way, but you don't see it that often.
And the thing about superchargers on diesels, they are no strangers. You hear from years gone by people talking about GM 471, 671, 871 blowers. Well, they started their life originally on GM two-stroke diesel motors. So, and they're back in the 50s when GM was building these two-stroke motors, diesel motors, they didn't have valves in them. They actually had ports in them. So what they were doing, they weren't a ported motor like a motorcycle where the fuel and air mix went into the crankcase. They actually used a supercharger to force the air into the ports when it was on a downward stroke, so basically after exhaust. So it's not unusual to put a supercharger, top mount supercharger on a diesel. It is unusual to see it on something with valves.
Yeah, with a four-stroke.
Four-stroke. The thing that caught my eye straight away, I'm very familiar with Whipples, as I've owned a couple of them. This is obviously the new 3.8 litre Gen 5, I think. Yep.
Yeah, so it's a billet Gen 5 3.8, and then the front drive, we have a dual front inlet, front drive, custom. We call them the granny panties.
Yeah, right.
Depending on where you're looking at. But that Whipple machined that for us, in-house design, and then of course the dual 5-inch inlets.
Yeah, it's amazing seeing that amount of air, because that's the one thing with a blower. You need to get as much air in it as you possibly can. And that, correct me if I'm wrong, but that looks like a 12 rib build.
12 rib.
Yeah, which is not common either. Actually, just getting the pulleys and stuff for a 12 rib is, then that means you get a 12 rib there, and then you got to think about all the stuff down underneath you, like, crank, harmonic balancer, but I guess you've got a pulley bolted onto the front of the harmonic balancer.
Yeah, so we have a huge overdrive, and part of that is supercharging a diesel. You don't have that top end red line RPM.
Yep.
And so to counteract that, we have to spin this thing really fast at idle.
Yep.
So we've got a huge overdrive pulley hiding down in the front there.
Yeah, interesting. So more than 10% overdrive?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, that's what I run on my LS3's got a 10% overdrive, and then a much bigger pulley than that. It's still 3.5 inch, but crazy. So NITROUS, DURAMAX, Whipple, 3.8, Gen 5, insane. So let's talk about the fabrication, just beautiful. All of this so neat. Love the way they look like ARP fasteners through the whole thing as well.
Just about every bolt on here is ARP.
Which is crazy. I mean, those guys made the best fasteners. It's just absolutely incredible. Then we've got those intakes we talked about coming through into the back end. The chassis on this thing is just magnificent. So you've not only got the physical chassis underneath, but then you've got all this beautiful metalwork that you've made there.
Right, so everything painted black is from Roadster Shop, and they really helped us out here. So this started life as what would be a C10 off-the-shelf frame for them.
Right.
And so what they did is we got the truck shipped out there, they scanned it, and ultimately they beefed it up, gusseted it for the weight and the torque, and then to top it all off, did the motor mounts for us for the DURAMAX.
Oh, that's so
So it is
so
a Roadster
awesome.
Shop chassis.
Oh, they do such good work, and once again, seeing all that beautiful ARP fastens through there is just wonderful. Look at the size of the exhaust coming through here.
Yeah, 1 3/4 primaries, and then we have an expander all the way up to 5-inch, and then the same 5-inch exhaust tips we have in our exhaust kits for modern day diesel trucks is what we're running here.
Oh, that's insane. Love the way the battery's just hidden down underneath there. Carbon fiber drive shaft as well.
Yes, one.
Tank at the back, aero-equipped fuel, aeromotive fuel pump.
Tank and a 5-gallon-a-minute fuel pump.
Yeah, awesome. And then the tanks for the air ride, obviously, on there as well.
Yeah, a lot of weight to push up. So we've got 4 tanks in here.
9-inch rear end.
Yep, Strange Engineering.
Yep.
9-inch, and then custom outer hubs. A big theme for us here is we wanted to retain 8-lug. All the diesels that we work with are 8-lug.
Yep.
And so out in the rear, Strange Engineering got on board 8-lug hubs, and out front, Kibitech did spindles that made up to the Roadster Shop suspension, and so true 8-lug front and rear.
Oh, it's amazing. Absolutely incredible. Well, as our car of the week winner, you very, very deservedly get this Meguiar's complete kit, which includes the hot shine foam, the quick interior detailer, ultimate wash and wax, the hybrid ceramic detailer, and the microfiber towel, which I don't know that, given the paintwork on it, you're going to want to do a lot of polishing stuff. You want to keep that patinaed, but you can keep the glass clean and the interior clean and under the hood clean. So,
absolutely.
Hey, great job, great build. Thank you so much for bringing it out.
Thanks for having us.